Hello. The regular board meeting of the Bellevue School District for May 16th, 2024 is now called to order. And the first thing on our agenda is roll call. Oh yeah, we had word that Director Block is necessarily away right now, so he won't be joining us. But I'm Carolyn Watson.
Cindy Rogan.
Monica Webster.
Jay Norris.
Kelly Aramaki.
Okay, so the very first thing is the introduction of the students. And for this, I call on Chief of Staff John Harrison.
Thank you, President Watson. It gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce to you Mr. Sebastian Meisner. He's a junior at International School.
All right, so first we'd like you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty with justice for all.
Okay, next on our agenda is our land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish peoples who have reserved treaty rights to this land, specifically the Duwamish and Snoqualmie tribes. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. We reflect on the historic context that brings us to reside on this land and accept responsibility to interrupt erasure. We commit to an ongoing partnership with the Snoqualmie tribe as we listen to, learn from, and lead with their guidance.
Thank you. Next, next we'd like to hear from you, like whatever you would like to tell us.
Yeah, thank you. Well, good afternoon. I just want to thank you all for having me today. It's an honor to speak in front of you all. So there are many aspects of my school that have helped me grow into the person I am today, such as its small student body or its charming size. However, I wanted to mainly focus on one part of my school that I am very passionate about, namely the Titan players. If you aren't already aware, one very unique aspect about International School is the fact that it doesn't have any sports teams. Instead, our largest extracurriculars are our robotics team and our theater program. And thanks to my sister, who used to go to International School and do theater there, she thankfully pressured me into doing theater, and I've been part of the Titan players since the 6th grade. However, unlike other theater programs, at International School, everyone is accepted. And what I mean by that is that everyone gets a role, which isn't just great for gaining more practice when it comes to acting, singing, dancing, or doing tech, but also in forging relationships with upperclassmen. And when I first joined theater at International School, in complete honesty, I was a little intimidated by the seniors and juniors who had been doing theater for years. But I quickly learned that being nervous or intimidated by them was simply just silly. You see, the interesting thing about the Titan players is that there's no competition. Like I said, everyone gets a part in our theater community. And so even in just the 6th grade, I was welcomed into a family that was centered around creating relationships regardless of age, experience, or any other means. An example of this, I remember being sick during the spring musical when I was just 12. And the seniors in the show drove to the grocery store, bought me ginger ale and like tea and saltines. And it's just one example of the friendships that are made in this community. In the Titan players, you can be whoever you want to be and be friends with whoever you want to be friends with. And with our theater program centered around building each other up and fostering friendships regardless of age, everyone, myself included, has grown into not only better actors and techies, but simply better people. And though our theater department doesn't have all of the lights or technical equipment that we want and need, we have always created a community and family focused on bringing people of all grades, backgrounds, and experiences together, blending creativity and compassion into a beautiful mixture of actors and techies, all focused on building each other up. And that is definitely something to be celebrated. Thank you all so much.
Next, we have the approval of the agenda, and I'm wondering if someone would like to make a motion about, oh, no, sorry, I'm always skipping. Acknowledgements. Let's go through acknowledgements, then we'll come to the back. All right. Jewish American Heritage Month, Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, Military Appreciation Month, National Physical Education and Sport Month. The 23rd of May is Vesak Day. The 23rd is also Declaration of the Ba. The 27th is the Ascension of Baha'u'llah. And the 27th is Memorial Day. And now, I'm done with my having skipped things, and we can go on to the motion for the approval of the agenda. I thought somebody might like to make a motion to modify the agenda. So do you want me to do it? I'm going to make a motion to modify the agenda by removing the first reading of 0130 to be considered again at a later date to be determined by the Agenda Planning Committee.
Second.
All right, would we like to have discussion about this? Okay, all right, all those in favor of this plan say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I didn't hear anybody who could qualify to be opposed, so, because they all said aye. All right, so now we're going to go on to the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Okay, anybody like to discuss it? We had a chance to discuss it on Monday, but any additional discussion? No? All right, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the consent agenda passes. So now we're going on to the superintendent update.
Great. Thank you, President Watson. A lot of things to celebrate in the district. This is my title slide here. Today, the superintendent's cabinet, we got to go through a safety training with our safety department, but this is a student, Caitlin, from Big Picture School, and she's been doing her internship in the safety department this year because Big Picture School, the kids get to do internships when they're in high school, and she led us through an incredible training on lockdowns and on how to stop bleeding and things like that. And she showed us that in every one of our buildings, we have this kind of bleeding kit. And there's one right outside this room right here, as well as we have Narcan that's up against the wall in case somebody is overdosing on fentanyl. And so I just want to shout out Caitlin for her leadership in leading our cabinet through this. But I also want to say that Bellevue, we have the best safety and security team. I mean, they train everybody. They make sure that every school is equipped with the things that we need for safety. They're leading district-wide trainings on how we can strengthen reunification if there's ever an emergency or crisis. And so I just I want to say that we're just super proud of our emergency preparedness here in Bellevue, and then our safety and security team, which not only do the work of safety and security, but also mentor youth in the field of safety and security. Next slide. You may or may not have noticed, but the four board directors that are up here with me they're all wearing matching shirts. And these are brand new shirts from Sherwood Forest Elementary School, which has launched a STEAM program this year. And I would also be matching if I didn't get soy sauce all over it the other day. So that is in the wash, but in the spirit of unity, we had a school board visit to Sherwood Forest this week, and it was like mind-blowing, the things that the community, the kids, the staff, the families are doing there. Sherwood Forest, coming out of conversations of consolidation last year, decided just to go big or go home around rebranding and building excitement around STEAM. And so they talked about how they do fall and winter engineering design challenges. They do fall and winter STEAM family showcases. They're working with community partners like GLY Construction Company. Comes in and mentors kids in the engineering design work. They're partnering with Interlake Horticulture. They also have developed this incredible just array of after-school programs and clubs. They're focusing on project-based learning to get kids excited to be in school. They are pursuing school-wide AVID for those folks, especially if you're in middle high school, you know about AVID, but they're pursuing school-wide AVID to get kids prepared for middle and high school. And then their PTSA is just knocking it out of the park, bringing in more and more members and doing all this work to just build up the community. And so just a collective shout out to Sherwood Forest for the innovation at that school and the amazing thing that that school community is doing. Next slide. I just want to call out, President Watson talked about Mental Health Awareness Month. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's also one of the months where kids have increased anxiety and issues of mental health. And so in the scope of the school year, I think we, in the hospitals and in the schools, we see kind of an uptick of students expressing issues of anxiety and depression and things like that between kind of May, June, July, August. Some of it's about testing, some of it's about just the change that comes with going to college and things like that. And so I just want to call out that Bellevue is very committed to supporting student well-being, and that includes taking care of student mental health. These are pictures from the YES fundraiser that was just this past week. YES is a very critical partner in providing mental health supports for our students. If you don't recognize him, that is a picture of Tyler Lockett, who was the guest speaker talking about the importance of mental health care for himself as well. And you can see I took a picture of my wrist, kind of a random picture, but it's something that I got when I was at Newport visiting, but it's a suicide prevention awareness wristband, just to remind all of us that we care about kids, and we are here to take care of kids who might be considering things such as suicide, and that we're here to protect them. Next slide. Jackie, Amelia, Barack, Jane, every year Lake Hills Elementary does a World Leaders Day where their third graders basically take a world leader, do research, write presentations, they put together this board, and then I think with the support of the Bellevue Schools Foundation funding, they get the outfits to match, and then they bring in visitors, and you push a little button on the little poster chart thing, and then they speak as if they are that world leader. And so you just take a look at these kids. I mean, they're adorable, and they were so spectacular in their presentations, and you could just see the pride in themselves as they were taking on the personas of these incredible leaders. It shows them that they too can be a leader like that. And then parents were just there taking pictures and loving on their kids. And so a shout out to Lake Hills for just making learning so exciting, but also showing kids that they can be anything that they want to be when they grow up. Next slide. These are photos from Newport Heights. I got to go visit Newport Heights Multicultural Night last week, and it was an incredible celebration. And you can see just celebration of culture. There was tons and tons of food there. And what's really remarkable is I think this is the first time that Newport Heights has had a major event since coming back from COVID. And so it was a grand celebration. When I was walking into the main entrance, kids were running from the neighborhood. Their parents are running behind them just to be there together, to celebrate, to perform. And I just want to shout out the PTA at Newport Heights. They put all of this together. The PTA president and others were just out there corralling kids, getting things set up, and we couldn't do school without our families. So kudos to the Newport Heights community for that incredible event. Next slide. This is a picture of the 2024 Unified Prom that happened at Interlake High School. So Heather McLean is one of the teachers in the Pacific program, and she is awesome. And she puts all this extra work into creating this prom for kids in the Pacific program, in the Transitions program, as well as any alumni that wants to come back. I mean, there were alumni from 10, 15 years ago who were there all dressed up, dancing to Taylor Swift, having a really great time. And it was an amazing event. Parents were also there. A lot of staff were there. But something that was also incredible is there were cheerleaders from Interlake that were there, football players, swim team members. The community just came out to celebrate each other and to dance together. And so it was an incredible event and really a testament to the focus on inclusion that we have in our school district. Next slide. I'm almost done, I promise. If you have a high school kid like me, this is AP testing season. For those of you who are sitting here in this room, you can see the tables, except for these two front tables, are perfectly spaced out. There are chargers at every single table. Our kids are pretty stressed, but I know that they're working very hard to do well on the AP test. During AP testing season in Bellevue, every room that's available across the district is taken up with testing because we have so many AP classes that we offer and kids are taking tests in order to get credits for college. But just kudos to all the kids for their hard work. You can see that the AP testing water that's in the slide. They're no longer allowed to bring water bottles because kids find really incredible ways to cheat on AP tests. And so now they get to use little cups and then have to dispose it before they go back in. So, we do what we have to do. Okay, next slide. I'm almost done. So this is Sebastian was talking about theater at international school, and I think I've said this before, but there was that article in the New York Times about how theater kids run the world. And you can see just from hearing Sebastian talk that theater, whether you become a professional actor or not, teaches you how to speak well, how to be poised, how to manage stress, how to work an audience. And because of all those skills that they learn, when they go out and do whatever they end up doing, they just do it with just incredible performance and effectiveness. And so we have a board night coming out. So next week, the board is going to get together, not to do any board business, but just to celebrate our kids. We're all going to go see Beauty and the Beast, which is happening this weekend and next weekend at Sammamish High School. You can see a couple of the pictures here. There's Lumiere on the right. And we're looking forward to it. So kudos to the theater programs across our district. And with that, that is the end of my update.
Okay, great. So next part of our agenda is public comments. And in a second, we'll have the public comment slide.
We've got two registered public commenters. They're both here in person tonight. President Watson, did you want to do your directions first?
Yes, I wanted to go through the slide just a little bit. I'm not going to read all the words to you, but we have 2 minutes per person. We have 20 minutes total, although it sounds like we're not using it all tonight. But that's to fit in as many people as we can without making the meeting go to midnight. And then we ask that you follow the same standard of civility that the board imposes on itself. And so let's not have anything libelous, slanderous, an invasion of privacy, obscene or indecent that would violate school district policy or, become harassment, bullying, or discrimination, incite an unlawful act, violate a lawful school regulation, or create a disruption of the orderly operation of the board meeting. But other than that, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Great, and I sit corrected, President Watson. We actually have 3 public commenters. So as each commenter arrives at the podium, if you would please introduce yourself, and if you're the next commenter, please start making your way to the podium. As the clock winds down, you'll see the clock on the screen in front of you. So our first speaker tonight is Maria Paul.
Hi, I'm Maria Paul, and I'm a parent from Medina Elementary, and I represent a group of parents who have same concern regarding safety of our school. So the problem is that main doors at the main entrance of our school are never locked during the school hours. So that allows anyone, including someone with ill intent, to enter the school. Our main concern is an armed person entering our school, and for now, there is no physical prevention of that. Currently, there are three main entrance doors, the one coming from outside to the vestibule, from vestibule to the office, and from office to the hallway of the school, and none of them are locked. And in our country, unfortunately, it's a very high risk that all parents would agree that we need to address and prevent as much as possible. I'm here, and also there's another parent here with me from our school. We want to emphasize the importance of increasing safety of our kids in school. And no matter how affluent and safe our neighborhood is, all doors in school should be locked at all time during the school hours, and visitors buzzed in after proper validation process. And I talked to Bellevue School District safety team, and they let me know that there is a project in review right now that proposes to install a lock and a buzz-in system on this door between office and the school. That is a very good option to prevent this physical barrier. And we want to draw your attention to this project, and we would really appreciate if you could prioritize reviewing this project and in order to address this overdue issue. And us as parents, we are happy to support you as much as we can and help with whatever resources we have.
Thank you. We got the idea. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
While public comment is often a time when our Bellevue School District leaders and volunteer school board members hear constructive feedback, which is not so different from a 2-week performance evaluation with an open door policy for anyone and everyone, I wanted to take my time today to invite a wave of community action and provide some positive feedback in my role as Executive Director of the Bellevue Schools Foundation. With 19,000 students, I'm afraid the success stories of our district's incredible educators and leaders, and most importantly, our students, aren't fully represented when there are openings for community feedback. And the reality is, there are unbelievable programs producing irrefutable student outcomes that simply need more funding. I would like to highlight 2 today. This year, Bellevue Schools Foundation provided $300,000 of support to our early learning program. But it is not enough to enroll 47 students who don't qualify for ECAP funding and are left out of the classrooms we know are crucial to their future academic success. For those community members wondering what they might be able to do to support their community and the next generation in Bellevue, I invite you to make a donation of any amount to our early learning program. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and while Bellevue Schools Foundation is incredibly proud to have funded screening tools and counseling support totaling over $500,000 in recent years, with an annual budget of over $3 million, there's so much more our foundation would like to do with additional investments from the community. Every dollar donated today and the rest of the month will be matched by a generous donor, and the impact will be doubled. So as we all consider feedback to our school leaders and make recommendations on improvements, let's also donate any amount to the programs we know are the gold standard in providing student support. The state is not providing nearly enough funding to ensure our students and teachers have the resources they need, but collectively, we can fund the most valuable assets in our society, our students and educators.
And that was, just for the record, the recording for the public, that was Juliet Booter, the Executive Director of the Bellevue Schools Foundation. Connor, are you ready? There he is.
Hello, my name is Connor Williams. I'm a freshman on the Sammamish robotics team. On behalf of our team, I would like to thank the Bellevue School Board for the consistent support to our team and all the robotics teams across the district. As you may know, 4 out of 6 Bellevue teams made it to the district championship, and 2 of those made it to the world championship in Houston. Additionally, this is Sammamish Robotics' 4th season in a row qualifying for the world championships in Houston this last April. We all know that this would only be possible because of the consistent support from the school board, whether it be with securing shop space, funding, or gaining an additional facility for practice space. So, like I said earlier, on behalf of our team, I would like to thank the school board for the consistent support. That's all. That's it.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Next, we're going on to the item number 5, award of contracts.
Good afternoon. I'd like to seek the board's award of, or approval for the award of contract for 3 projects that we have coming up for a number of our summer work going on. The first one is Lake Hills Boiler and Chiller Replacement Project. And on April 18th, we opened bids for the Lake Hills Boiler and Chiller Replacement, had 3 responsive bidders. Northwest Thermal Hydronics was a low bidder with a bid of $668,000. Northwest Thermal Hydronics has done several similar projects for the district and performed extremely well. The purpose of this is to be proactive in replacing our hot water condensing boilers that are original to the school when it opened in 2005. And the HVAC maintenance team is having to make numerous component repairs, things like that they're able to do. But we want to be proactive and make sure we don't have problems, especially when the school is occupied and you need to have heating and cooling. So we are requesting the award of contract to Northwest Thermal Hydronics for $668,000 for that project.
We do the motion now. Did we have a written out a motion already, or we just say we'll move to approve the contract of the Lake Hills Boiler and Chiller Replacement Project? All right, so I'll move that. Would somebody like to
Second.
second? All right, so all in favor of that? Let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, do we want to discuss? Did you want to discuss? No, I'm sorry. I made an assumption because we discussed on Monday, but
Okay, that's
could
good.
always add more discussion.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so are we going to all say aye? Aye.
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 All right, so now we'll go to the next one.
Okay, thank you. The second one is award of contract for another project at International School, which is a boiler replacement. Again, very similar type thing. We opened bids. There were 3 responsive bidders. And again, Northwest Thermal Hydronics was a low bid of $532,000. And again, Northwest Thermal Hydronics has done a number of projects for us very successfully. Again, the same situation there. We're going on 19 years on the boilers at International. We have 2 of them, and we are able to use both of them in kind of a lead lag configuration, but they are getting to the point where we want to avoid some kind of a situation in the, in the heating season. And this year during that cold weather, we did have a few frozen pipes in the school there that we were unable to keep up with the temperatures on that. So we are requesting that the award of contract for Northwest Thermal Hydronics for the International School Boiler Replacement be awarded for $532,000.
I'll move that we approve the award of contract for the International School Boiler Replacement Project. Would anybody second?
Second.
Okay, anybody like to discuss?
I do have one question. I know you mentioned, Jack, that we could move the boiler to another building, and especially given that International is right now in process of being looked at to be remodeled, rebuilt. How many other schools do we have that has the similar boiler that is utilized, because given most of our buildings have been rebuilt over the years, I'm curious to know if it's the same system or are they all different?
Most of them are fairly similar that utilize the hot water condensing boilers. The exception to that is any of the schools that have the ground source where we're using a heat pump and using the water from the wells to go ahead and provide heating and cooling. So all of our with the exception of Tyee, all of our middle schools have geothermal. So Tyee would be one that could benefit from these boilers. All of the elementaries up until 2008 at Eastgate have hot water boilers. So any of those could be used. And then the high schools all have a number of the hot water condensing boilers, in addition to schools that do have some other sources of heating. So yeah, they have a wide variety of use. And the other thing that's important is, even though there's a movement out there to reduce gas appliances and cut down that greenhouse gas emissions from the state, we can comply with that by going with electric furnaces and electric hot water boilers. But for right now, we can still utilize the gas hot water boilers, and we can utilize those in other projects. But again, we will make that move as we have time to go through the various schools. We couldn't do it all at once. We don't have enough manpower to do that.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else? No. I'll just like to add, I'm glad you touched on that, because I think with our sustainability policy and everything, we are concerned about environmental impact, and I'm very proud of the places where we do have the greener system. But I think that does kind of require remodeling and digging up all the place to put those pipes.
That's one way to approach it. Yeah, another one. Hot water boilers with electric, but it's a little different rate structure with the electric on that, so we'd have to do some modifications.
But that whole geothermal heat pump thing is,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's
been a
pretty
very
hard to
efficient-
accomplish. Yeah.
Very efficient system, yeah. And had we started with a new high school that had a complete
Yeah.
open fields and all that type of thing, we could have done that. But
That's what I'm getting at. You have to sort of dig up stuff.
yeah, we would.
Yeah.
But there's options that we're looking at.
Yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, looks like we got that one. So now,
Thank you.
don't you want to do Whisk Data Center?
Yeah. we just
Yeah,
talked about who we're awarding it to.
Yeah.
I got, somebody asked a question, it got me completely fouled
Yeah,
up here.
yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to get out of here quick. Okay. Yes, we had, on May 9th, we had bids open for the West Data Center cooling project. And we had two responsive bidders for that one, and Castle and Associates was low bid with a bid of $1,056,700. And Castle has done a number of successful projects for the district. Couple things about that. The West Data Center was in this building right behind where you're sitting, and that was opened in 2009. And this was a new structure at that point. The rest of the campus was renovated at that time as well. And this building, the data center, and the other buildings utilize the same hot water, cold water loop for cooling and heating. The data center, we've expanded it, add more servers and the rest of it. So it does require more cooling, and it becomes problematic when everything on this campus is using one system. And so sometimes that cooling cannot keep up with the heat on especially some of these hot days we've had. So we're putting in a separate system that will just serve the data center, that'll give us reliability and also more efficiency in terms of our utility costs. So we are recommending that Castle and Associates be awarded the contract in the amount of $1,056,700.
Okay, so I will move that we approve the award of contract for the Whisk Data Center cooling upgrade. Would anybody like to second?
Second.
Would anybody like to discuss? Okay, let's just say all in favor.
Aye.
Okay, now I need to insert an unscheduled motion, mainly because it's come to my attention that the motion I did earlier with 8.1 where we would be able to postpone a first reading of 0130, didn't cover 8.2, proposed revisions to procedure 0130P. So I would now like to move that we add that to our postponed list and reschedule it as when we can. So that's my motion. Would anybody like to second it?
Second.
All right. Would anybody like to discuss it? All right. All in favor, let's say aye. Aye. Okay. All right. So now we got that sorted out. We're going to go on to 6.1, Annual Plan Report on Early Learning.
Okay, awesome. I think I'm going to kick it off to Kelly Taylor. Is that right? Our Director of Early Learning. But I'll just start by saying that we all know that joy starts in preschool. And so we're excited to have the preschool team here to talk about all the things that they're doing for kids that are in preschool in the Bellevue School District.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us. This is the first time since I've been working in preschool that we've been able to be here in front of the board. So we feel very grateful and we're excited to share the work that we're doing. As I previously shared on Monday, I get so much joy doing this work, and I feel so privileged to be working with such an amazing staff, some of whom are here with me tonight. And I would like to start by asking them to each introduce themselves and share their role in preschool.
Hi, I'm Emily Shriver. I'm a curriculum developer and coach for preschool. Prior to this, I taught kindergarten at Somerset Elementary for 10 years.
My name is Lucrecia Bowley, and I work as a preschool lead teacher at Stevenson Elementary. I have been with the Bellevue School District for about 20 years now.
My name is Ingrid Aldana, and I am currently working as a family engagement specialist for the eCare program. This is my 17th year in the district. Previous to this position, I work as a lead preschool teacher.
Thank you. Next slide. So the purpose of this report is to share with you our mid-year progress on annual plan target of increasing access to high quality, inclusive preschool, particularly to those furthest away from educational justice. Next slide. Why preschool? I've read a lot of research about why preschool, and I think this quote kind of sums it up. It's in all the research that I've read. We know that early childhood is the single most prolific period of development for children. Children in poverty, however, frequently do not have access to the same educational and developmental resources as their counterparts from higher income families during this vital time. The inequality gap is getting worse between the children who have access to preschools and those who do not. But I believe in Bellevue, we are addressing this inequity and we're making progress. Next slide. In the report that I shared with you, the written report, I shared some data, and this one in particular stands out to me. If you look pre-pandemic at the number of students we were serving, it was about a little over 1,100 kids, and we're almost back to that number at 964. But in particularly, what I noticed is we are serving more kids with IEPs and in special ed services, and more kids under the free and reduced umbrella than we were even pre-pandemic. And I believe that's because we are working on how to get them access. Next slide. 3 key strategies that we are working on this year are sense of belonging, learning, and joy. My colleagues here are going to take a little bit of time to share from their perspective how these strategies have impacted them in the classrooms.
In our classrooms, we strive to build trusting, open, and collaborative relationships with families and seek the family's input to include in our program planning. Taking the time to communicate with family members about their child's unique characteristics and needs plays a significant role, providing us with information needed to set up appropriate learning environments for individual children. To support children's learning across home and school, the program encourages family participation in all the school activities. The new strategies that I am learning include materials that I can send home. We also offer 2 family conferences, weekly emails, and constant open communication. Establishing positive relationships with families helps to bridge children's experiences between the program and home, and it fosters each child and family's sense of belonging, not only in the early learning setting education, but with the whole school. Last year, our program became part of the pre-K 5 system. For the last 4 years, we have been preparing ourselves for this change by taking the opportunity to take early childhood classes to improve our education. Last year, we started the transition to be part of the school. This year, we're fully integrated. We attend PDs and are part of all the school activities. During PD, we have been able to establish a strong connection with the school staff. We are aware of the strategies and curriculum used in the elementary grades, and we are receiving the pre-K trainings of those strategies in the curriculum that will support and prepare our students for kindergarten. As a preschool teacher, I feel included, I feel empowered, valued, and it has given me a sense of belonging. Thank you.
I forgot to say next slide. So can we all just look at the next slide? This is Lukey's classroom. These pictures are from her classroom and they're so special. I love getting all the pictures. So thank you, Lukey. Next slide.
So I stated earlier, prior to this role, I was a kindergarten teacher at Somerset. And so when changing roles to work with preschoolers, I saw a lot of opportunity of how we can make sure that preschoolers are not only just prepared for kindergarten, but so excited for that transition, right? Preschool is all about joy and fun, but also learning. So I just want to talk to you about all of this amazing things that these educators are doing in the classroom daily with their students. Our goal in preschool is not to make it like kindergarten, but to provide a supportive, play-based environment, but that also has intentional instructional moments built in throughout the day. So in the past, preschool teachers have had access to a plethora of curriculums. A lot of our curriculums align with kindergarten and first grade. We have a phonemic awareness curriculum that we use that K1 also uses. And our social emotional curriculum aligns with kindergarten and first grade. So these things will look familiar to kids as they roll up to kindergarten. But our preschool teachers often wanted support on how do I teach these curriculums to these students. We teach kids 3 to 5 year olds in preschool. So it's a huge range of attention spans and ability. This year, we were so excited to receive some grant money to fund a group of preschool educators in getting preschool GLAD training. GLAD training is guided language acquisition design training. It's a set of strategies used to teach multi-language learner students, but all of our preschoolers are language learners, so it really benefits all of the students in the classroom. Through our GLAD training and all of our departmental professional development, teachers program-wide have been able to learn new teaching strategies to support all of our learners. They're introducing students to high-level academic vocabulary, enhancing their centers to match really fun themes like pets and gardening and insects, and they're embedding learning organically into play. Preschool teachers are being really intentional in their instruction. It's not just childcare, but it's also intentional instruction with learning embedded in play throughout the day. Another really exciting thing that a lot of our preschool teachers have taken part in this year is called our instructional lab classroom group. These teachers have been a joy. There's 7 teachers across different schools. They meet monthly and they work together to collaborate on creating materials for the rest of their preschool colleagues. They share their learning together. It's just been a huge collaborative effort. So we're going to continue that next year with another cohort. I just wanted to say how super proud I am of all of our preschool teachers and the work they've done with their students this year. They are not afraid to try new things. They want to learn and they want to help prepare their students for kindergarten while also supporting their childhood development in these early years. Our littlest learners are in great hands. Next slide.
I get to talk about the joy. The preschoolers participate in many of the events and cultural activities that the school organizes for families, such as Dia del Niño, Chinese New Year, talent shows, field days. These activities bring families together and allows them to build special memories. This year, the preschoolers were invited to a field trip to Kids Quest Museum. The fun started as soon as they rode the school bus. They were happy to have this experience. At the museum, children were excited to be in a hands-on environment. They enjoyed touching, discovering new materials, playing with water, making sounds, and just having a wonderful times with their teachers, peers, and parents. Our preschoolers get to enjoy participating in specialty classes in many of our schools, such as music, physical education, and art. And it's thanks to all these activities that children can express the joy and happiness of coming to school every day.
Thank you. Next slide. So after we looked at how we've been doing this year, we realized we still have work to do. And one of those things that we know is we need to work better on how we're including all kids and getting rid of labels. We don't offer services for every student at every school yet, but that is a goal. So next year, we are expanding how we offer services for students with IEPs. And at 4 of our schools, we are going to try a new model where the certificated teacher that is the special ed teacher is pushing in and co-teaching, and the kids with IEPs are spread across the 3 classrooms instead of all in one classroom. And it's not perfect yet, and I'm really trying to go with the goers and to see who's willing to give this a try. And we're going to be really creative with how we do this, and we're going to work together, all of us, and we're really excited about that. Along with that, we know we need to work on funding. We know that we have kids that are experiencing housing insecurity, and they don't often come to us at the beginning of the year when we fill up all of our ECAP slots. And so we need to find funding for those students, and I'm working with Bellevue LifeSpring on that. I'm also working really closely with Juliet, who wants to really work hard to help us fund kids in preschool. While we can accept subsidies, it's important to note that if a subsidy can only happen if a family is working. It can only happen if they are willing to show that they have citizenship. So there's some barriers there too when it comes to preschool. And I think everyone knows that K-12 does not fund. We don't get preschool funding from the state. And so we run budget neutral, which is kind of what that term means. I learned that really quickly when I started working in preschool. You've got to be budget neutral. And I'm learning a lot. Luckily, I'm married to an accountant. So so funding is another thing that I work really hard on, and going out and working on grants. The professional development that we want to continue, because so many teachers that didn't get it this year would like to participate next year, and that costs money. We've already applied for the same grant that we got this year, and we feel very certain that we'll get that grant again, which allows us to release teachers for professional development, get the materials that we need, and move the whole program forward. Next slide. So again, circling back, why preschool? Research shows that preschool programs, if they're of high quality, can provide an enormous boost that changes children's lives forever. I believe Bellevue is offering a high quality preschool. We have toured other districts around us. We have not found anything that has ignited anything exciting for us to try. In fact, people are coming to us now and saying, wait, how do you do that? How are you doing that? And that's because ever since I've been here, Bellevue has respected and encouraged and embraced our littlest learners. Next slide. So I just want to thank you, the school board, for supporting our littlest learners. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now it's time for some discussion. So I've got this die, but now we only need 4. All right, it's 2. Oh, that's me. All right. Well, all right, I'll kick off and I'll say, I think I expressed on Monday, I was worried that preschool might be getting a little too academic, but let's say that I've said that and we're going to watch for that. And let me go on to say how important I think the work that you're doing is and that you're trying to expand. And I'm going to say that because it's personal to me. And the reason why it's personal to me is that one of my earliest memories is my mom coming home from her first discussion with the kindergarten teacher. And my kindergarten teacher said to my mother, you know, your daughter's not going to learn to read. She's not going to be able to learn to read because you weren't able to afford preschool for her. And so that's why I think the work that you're doing is so important, so that there's not like another mother who has to hear your kid's going to struggle to catch up because you couldn't afford preschool. So thank you. Let me pass it to number 3.
Oh, thank you. Wow, thank you for that amazing, super professional presentation. I also have a soft spot in my heart for preschool. I taught preschool special ed for many, many years, and I saw firsthand the power of what early intervention can do for the kids and the families. It's a huge leg up on student success, and breaks my heart that we don't have more funding for this program. We definitely collectively as a community need to pull together on this. I am thrilled to hear that we're expanding services to more schools, and the co-teaching possibility is just energizing. Fingers crossed that continues to be launched in a great way. I love that teachers feel empowered. That comment gave me goosebumps again, that when people feel included and empowered as a staff, I think amazing things can happen. So that was great to hear. I had a quick question about the GLAD training. You know, oftentimes we hear that professional development is optional and sometimes difficult to get everybody to attend. So I was kind of curious how that works with preschool. Is it paid? Is it optional? How does that work?
Well, so first we decided, we recruited the 7 teachers that we felt were ready for something new and more. Like they had their tier 1 strategies down, their behavior management, their classroom procedures, things like that, and they were wanting more. But we had to find some funding through the grant to start this group of the ILC, the instructional lab class. And Emily was amazing because she started to introduce things. We have a curriculum that's project based. So it was pretty easy to say, let's pick this theme together and let's teach it together. And I'm going to weave in GLAD strategies and I want you to tell me how it's working. And they would meet regularly. And at first they're like, no, that's not going to work. That can't work. No, it can't. And then pretty soon it was on a roll, and they have a Teams chat, and it's longer than you can believe. And they send pictures and all kinds of things. It's amazing. And then it started to spread, and other teachers were like, wait, what are you doing in there? I want to see that. And then Emily can share with you how the GLAD actual, when we brought in Christine Champy, what that was like.
Yeah. So Project GLAD, a lot of people are really familiar with like the K-5 version of it, but they actually have another version for specifically for preschool. So instead of like Project GLAD can be kind of writing heavy. So for preschool, it's very like based off oral discussions and a lot of visuals. It's really fun. The kids love it. Highly engaging. So when we got this grant money, we knew we had enough money to train about 13 teachers. So we included our instructional lab classroom teachers this year. And then we also tried to pick, we're at 13 different elementary schools in the district. So we tried to pick a teacher from each school. That way they could talk with their teammates, share what they've learned, and then have it grow. Yeah. So next year we're fingers crossed. I think we're going to get the same grant again, and then we'll be able to do 13 more that want to continue the work. So yeah, very exciting.
And then we want to move it up to kindergarten. No, that's
Yes.
We're not going to stop.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I jotted down so many notes because I just saw so much wonderful information here from the comments that the families and the students made around just joy and how excited they are to be a part of the program, to just seeing the feedback from some of the teachers, and it's a reflection of the great work that you all are doing. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I do have a couple of questions that came up, and one was around the class size. I'm just kind of curious around how big those classes are in preschool. And then the other question that I had was, sorry, scrolling down here, I'm wondering what the percentage of families are that are being served through the grants and the scholarships are, like what percentage they make up in the preschool program.
So our cap for class size is 20.
Okay.
So we never have more than 20 kids in a classroom. And we have 176 students that are served through the ECAP program. And then we have well, right now returning next year, I have 140 kids with IEPs. Those students receive a half day, 4 days a week of funding from the federal government. And then they can pay for the extra part of the day. And then with just tuition assistance, I would have to get you that number.
Okay.
I don't know exactly off the top of my head how many kids we have on subsidies, but I want to say it's about 60. And then with the Bellevue Schools Foundation grant, they cover about 20 kids, like one classroom.
Mm-hmm.
A classroom costs us about $240,000, including all the indirects and MSOCs and things that we pay for to be budget neutral to the district.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we thinking about how inflation rate will impact us in the upcoming years and kind of our ability to provide those scholarships and grants to as many families?
We're trying, we work every year with our budget team to kind of look at, do we need to raise tuition too? So we do have full tuition paying families as well. And that does help keep our program alive too. So for example, at Jingmei, we end up getting 4 classes full right away with a long wait list. Yes. And so we're going to add another couple Mandarin classes at Enitai. The parents were willing to go to a different school to have a Mandarin experience. So we're looking at ways of recruiting more families too that want to pay to be in our preschools to help us fill it up.
Right. Thank you so much.
Wow. Joy of going last, a lot of the questions gets answered. But I do want to say kudos to just the structure that you have built and the services that you're providing. Research says that how important preschool experience is, and being able to provide that for our students so that they have a leg up and be more ready for kindergarten is so important. So I appreciate that. I wrote down a lot of things as well. I was like, ooh, project-based learning, play-based learning. Oh, now GLAD, I'm a big proponent in GLAD strategies. And so it's nice to hear how you're implementing it for preschool. The instruction of lab-based, a lot of great things. And so thank you. I had one concern and question, I guess more the question than anything, or wonder is, I know Juliet mentioned about, I think 47 was the number. Is that the 47 students that are not getting access because of not enough funding?
Well, she asked me today how many kids I have right now on a wait list. So since we opened enrollment March 1st, and we have about 47 students that do not qualify for ECAP, meaning they might be above that limit barely. And preschool costs, it's like tuition, right, for college almost. So we have to work on how do we find them funding. And sometimes it's, can they qualify for DCYF subsidies? But then if they don't qualify for that, where do we find that funding? And once we get through the scholarship money that Bellevue Schools Foundation has given us, that's when we have to get really creative. So right now we're worried about 47 students. And what I hate is that they're waiting because we can't get them in until we know we have the funding. So that's hard on parents. It's because they're trying to figure out, do I have even a place for my child next year so I can work? And so we're really working on how do we get through that tuition assistance process quicker to get families to know sooner. And the more money I can secure, then I can get through it quicker and let the families know you've got a spot. So I'm not sure we'll have 47 at the end of the year because I'll work really hard to make sure they get in by summer. But right now that's who's sitting there.
I see. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. I do also want to put a shout out. I appreciate you creating the opportunity for, or I guess I think our superintendent partnership with Quest. And one of the things I think about is as a parent, taking my children to Quest when they started a long time ago, and or to Seattle Center, and that opportunity to explore. I think that every child would have access, but in reality, that's still a luxury here for
Mhm.
many of our students. So
And many of the families came too, which was amazing. Like they just had it was such a bonding, right? It was so fun. And I will admit, we were nervous. Like, how are we going to organize this? I'm like, thanks a lot, Dr. Amakina. Right. But we did it. And now he said, do you want to do it again? And I said, now we know we got this, right? We could totally do this. Yeah. Do it. Yep. We got it.
thank you.
Okay, I'm going to, since we have time, say if there are any more board members want to make a comment, and then I'm going to have Dr. Aramaki make a comment. But I just wanted to say I'm so sorry that you have to spend so much time and effort cobbling together funding versus working on what your program should really be like. And I think I'm not out of line if I say that all of us would if we see the opportunity, we would like to advocate for more state and federal funding for universal preschool. But so I'm going to pass to Director 3 and down the line, and you can pass if you don't have anything more to say, and then we'll come back to Dr. Aramaki.
Great. I think I'll pass. Thank you again.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, but I also, the word, when you said universal preschool, I was thinking, gosh, we're so behind in the state of Washington on that. I remember looking at, I think, is it Georgia? Georgia's had this forever, and it's sad that we don't have it. But I was wondering if this is something we could also talk to our city council partner about. I know that Seattle offers universal preschool through working in partnership with the council. So maybe this is something we could talk to our council members about.
Okay, Dr. Aramaki.
Yeah, just a couple closing comments. One, so Juliet, the executive director of the Bellevue Schools Foundation, I can see her looking at me as you guys were talking, because I think while we're waiting for the state to do universal preschool, there is a way if parents do want to participate or the community wants to give opportunities for kids to have preschool, is to donate to the Bellevue Schools Foundation, because that money will go straight from the Schools Foundation into our preschool. And so I just wanted to put that plug because I could feel I could feel that.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll just mention is I just want to make 3 comments. You know, the thing that we're going to talk about next is the strategic plan. But I want people who are listening in to just remember this preschool presentation, because it so perfectly captures what we're going to try to do as a whole system. And the one thing I wanted to mention was I had a chance to meet with NISO, the Promotores group, a group of our Latina mothers who are out there working with families. And I was talking to them about this idea of co-designing, like how can we create a system together that's going to serve your kids well? And the thing that they said is the most important thing to them for equity reasons is preschool. And it's the same thing that you said, President Watson, about what the teacher said to your parent. But they said, we want our kids to start kindergarten where everybody else is. The kids ready and engaged to learn, already building kind of the foundational building blocks of literacy. And that is one of the most important things. They said, if there's anything you can do, it's to provide preschool opportunities for our kids. The second thing I want to mention is in the presentation, I mean, you guys are innovating. I mean, you're innovating in inclusive practices, you're innovating in professional development, you're innovating in this whole like preschool lab classroom idea, you're innovating in teacher leadership, in bringing GLAD and doing co-teaching. All these amazing things that we know are so important is happening in preschool. And that is going to be a hallmark of our strategic plan moving forward, and preschool is leading the way. The third thing I want to mention is the Kids Quest thing. So people warned me, like, superintendents should not come up with ideas because you don't understand the trickle down effect of how much work it is. But I was like, this is going to be so easy and great. Preschool kids going to Kids Quest, you know, and I think the scheduling, the buses, the teachers kind of freaking out about, and all that. So I just want to say, I know it was a ton of work, way more work than I thought it was going to be. And so I apologize for that, but I did get to go and spend time with the preschool from Sherwood Forest at Kids Quest, and it was amazing. The kids did have a really amazing time. And there's nothing that moves faster in this world than kids that go from the water room upstairs, because if you don't catch them, they will go into the tree fort and then there's no getting them down. And so I'll just say, we blinked. The next thing you know, the whole class disappeared. They were up in that tree, but they were experiencing joy. I mean, it was so fun. They were learning, and that was amazing. And the last thing I guess I'll say is we want our schools to be P5 schools, you know, and so you're talking about like preschool being included finally in our elementary schools, not a add-on, not a separate thing, but it's like we're part of the community. Kids getting music and art and PE, kids going to lunch together, teachers being part of the professional development. Like that is so incredible. And that idea of belonging, not just for the kids, but for the teachers and the staff is what we're aiming for. So hang on to all of these things that we've been hearing from our team, because when we talk about the strategic plan next, you're going to see all of that kind of illustrated through what our preschool team presented today. So kudos, thank you for being here.
All right. Oh, okay, photo op. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, we're going to move on to the strategic plan. So who is going to lead off the discussion there?
Okay, so at the last board meeting, we introduced the strategic plan proposal, and today the board gets to vote on our new strategic plan. I'm gonna do a quick kind of 3 or 4 minute kind of summary of what we talked about last time, just to remind us of what we're approving. But I want to start by just saying, I'm going to read this paragraph that I wrote that's going to go out in the newsletter today. And it's basically this: imagine a school system where every student, staff member, and family member feels without a doubt that they belong and are accepted, where their cultures and their identities are embraced and celebrated. Imagine classrooms and schools where every student, staff member, and family can experience joy and excitement and actively learn with the support that they need to succeed. And finally, imagine a school system where students, staff, and families don't just participate or receive, but feel prepared and compelled to lead collectively to drive positive change locally and globally for people and for our planet. That is the essence of the new strategic plan: belong, learn, and lead. So let's go to the next slide, and I'm just going to take you through just a few things so that the community can see. But this strategic plan, the process for developing this is unlike anything we've done in the past. It was a very inclusive process. We created a coalition of diverse members from around the district, 34 people, students, staff, family, community members, selected through application, appointment, and this idea of sortition, which is like a tap on the shoulder, because we want people to represent different voices. I participated, 2 of our school board directors participated, and we had representatives from our diverse learning community. The idea is that we get together, we design together, and we have power together in the design process. Next slide. We did all of these empathy interviews. So instead of just doing surveys, we actually went out and talked to people and asked them their stories. What was their lived experience with the Bellevue School District? From that, we pulled all of that data together, talked about themes, and we came up with a problem statement. What is the problem that we're trying to solve as we move forward? And this is what it is. And it's raw and it's not pretty, but if we aren't honest about the problem that we're trying to solve, we'll never get there in solving the problem. So this is it. Each member of the diverse BSD community wants to feel heard, valued, and affirmed so that they can feel empowered to do their best work. But there is not yet an organizational culture that helps each individual experience a sense of belonging and support. Next slide. Underneath that problem statement are these main root causes. What is it that's causing this problem to occur? And these are kind of the 4. And in the newsletter that I'm going to send out after this meeting, it explains it in more detail. But the first one is just about the Bellevue reputation. We have unbelievable success. When you look at all of the stories that come out about Bellevue, just incredible success coming out of Bellevue. The problem is that success is not available to every student. The second thing is we have a lot of efficiency in our system, but we also have a lot of inequities in our system. And sometimes we prioritize efficiency over equity. The third is, and I've heard this from parents, I've heard this from staff members, but our systems are not always responsive to the needs that people have. And so people don't feel that the systems that we have in place are responsive to the diverse needs of their kids or to their family. And the fourth thing is about relationships. We're a big system, we do a lot of things well, but there was a sense that there wasn't a humanity in the relationships that we have in our system, whether it's between staff members or between staff and families or between staff and kids. And so the word was transactional. We have transactional relationships that are based on getting the job done versus connecting at the human level. Those were the four main root causes that came out. Next slide. So based on the problem statement, based on those root causes, we are committing as a community to these three things, that we are going to belong. We individually will belong, and we're going to work to ensure that other people belong. We commit to learning. Our kids are going to learn and not just slog through the day, not just be bored, not just pass tests, but they're going to be engaged, excited. They're going to be experiencing joy. And then the third is around leading. We will lead. And what that means is we are all going to be leaders in making the system better. So we're not going to depend on the superintendent to make it better. We're not going to depend on a teacher to make it better. We're going to depend on each other to make things better in our system for people and for the environment. So that term for people and planet is our commitment to making things better for humanity and making things better for our environment towards the goal of environmental sustainability. Next slide. I won't get into the details of this one, but behind each of those commitments are the strategic priorities. The first one, building human-centered systems and relationships. We want to elevate relationships in this. We are a people business, and so we want to elevate relationships. The second one is cultivating student engagement and learning. This is kind of the bread and butter of the strategic plan in my mind. We want our kids to go to school excited and to come home exhausted because they have learned so much and have engaged at such a high level. And then third, strengthening collective leadership. So ways to empower kids to use their voice, ways to empower teachers like we saw with our preschool to use their voice. We want our whole system feel that they have agency to make things better locally and globally. Next slide. These are the next steps. So there's a lot that's happened and there's a lot that needs to happen. Today, the school board is going to be able to discuss this one last time and then hopefully approve the strategic plan, which is going to guide the next work of the next 5 years. But as I've always said, we celebrated Bellevue High School's 100th anniversary. So we're not just starting the next 5 years, we're literally launching the next century of the Bellevue School District. And so this plan is what we believe is going to get us moving in the right direction for all of our kids. After we approve the plan, we're going to go on this big blitz to communicate and socialize the plan. We want people to understand it, to embrace it, and then to start moving in the same direction. And then over the course of next year, we don't want to rush into deciding on metrics. We don't want to rush into deciding on strategies. We don't want to start adding a bunch of things when we haven't really decided whether we like the things that we're currently doing. And so just to use the theater analogy from before, just like during intermission, they're taking time to dismantle the staging from the first act to get the stage ready for the second act. This coming year is going to be kind of that setting the stage for the second act. We are going to bring together a team in the same manner to define the key metrics and guide our implementation process. And then we're going to launch inclusive design teams under each of the three commitments and strategic priorities to decide what do we want to stop doing and then what do we want to start doing. So those are the next steps. But I can say that everybody that I've talked to in the community about the strategic plan has been very excited about the honesty in which we are facing in what we're trying to address and the excitement in which we can look forward to addressing those things that we need to address for all of our kids.
Okay. So to start the discussion, I went first last time, so let's have Director Rogan go first.
I'll try not to cry. That was really inspirational. Thank you. Kind of almost speechless. This plan, I feel like it addresses our humanity as a community. And that idea of joy, excitement, active learning, belonging, leading locally and globally. I feel like it's mic drop material. You know, what else can you say? So I'm 100% behind it, and I'm a little emotional about it. Thank you. And I'll pull myself together and maybe provide some more comments in a minute.
Yeah, I echo your sentiment. You know, I'm really excited about the next phase of the implementation process. Really feel like this is reflective of the uniqueness of our community and our school district as a whole. I really enjoyed learning about the process and hearing the feedback from both board directors who engaged in the process and felt like it was very thoughtfully done. And yeah, I also really appreciate all the work and energy that the families and students contributed to the process. I know that it took a lot of time, a lot of energy, physically, emotionally, mentally, right, to invest. And I'm just really appreciative and just, yeah, nicely done to the whole team.
If I were to take away one thing that I think we could really highlight in this whole process is the fact that our district was willing to be vulnerable and name the problem. I think the whole process was phenomenal. I appreciate everyone that participated and really thoughtfully engaged in the experience and coming up with all the great material that we could use to launch into the next steps. Looking forward to that, actually. I'm curious to see what that will look like, how that would feel like, and also I'm curious to see, are we going to engage our community in the same way? I think we were able to do so much with it, not just coming up with a strategic plan, but also help our community heal too. And I think that was really important. So yeah, I am looking forward to the next steps and see who's going to step up to that in that space. Thanks.
So, yeah, I felt privileged to be part of the group that works on this. But when I look at this, let me just say, put on a different hat for a second and try to address a fear that I have, or fear that maybe community members would have, would be, you look at this and you're like, okay, there's no Gantt chart, there's no timeline, there's no metrics, there's no like next, what are we doing? You know, it doesn't feel like a 5-year plan here, but I am, you know, I'm very on board with the notion that we are going to add all of that after we sit with this for a while. And what I do like with what we came up with is that it was the people, you know, the individuals that were interviewed in these extensive empathy interviews. I think they got to what, over 120, I don't know, some large number of individuals that were chosen. It shows in here how they were interviewed and so forth. But so what I really like about it, not only that it came from the ground up, but also that we didn't pull punches here on this page, well, 6 on mine, but on the chart that shows problem statement, like we didn't just try to mince words. And it feels like when we list these root causes, it's really so I really appreciate that. And then I would also say that the next page gives us goals, what people want to feel and experience. And then we have it's labeled strategies, but it's sort of like what we want to do on a high level. So I'm really excited for this plan. But it doesn't follow like traditionally what you might see in a business plan or something, but all the better. So let's go, you want to go around again? Yeah. Oh, sure.
Just before we go around one more time, a couple of comments I'll make. One is, yeah, with the designing of metrics and the Gantt chart and things like that, when we went out and interviewed people in the community, some people talked about going in expecting to talk with somebody for about 30 minutes and then ended up talking to them for hours. And some of the stories involved lots of tears, kids, parents who have kids with disabilities and their experience, sometimes positive, sometimes not, but the humanity in the conversations is, you can't survey your way out of those things, And so it was like, we realized that the solution has to be somewhere in humanity if this is what the problem that we're addressing. And so we are going to try to measure some things, but it is, we committed to not rushing into it. And then the other thing is, we are excited because it aligns with the work that we're trying to do with equity-driven decision-making. And next year, I think the plan is to use the same consultants. I mean, part of the success of this was the consultants that we chose were deeply rooted in the values of radical inclusion and equitable design. And so we are working with them to see if they can kind of help us with the next phase, because part of this is us as a system learning to be better at including in a radical way the voices of the community and designing in an equitable way that shifts power to those who have not always had power in our system.
You answered that question I had, which is, are the two fellows that presented last time or were part of the presentation, if they would still be involved. So that's so great to hear. There's something about having those two fellows who are so fully steeped in the process from the very beginning of all of these conversations to be able to assist in a system-wide shift that's going to impact a shift in mindset for so many people, professionals and community members, which will impact people's behaviors. And that's where the rubber hits the road. And that's really heartening to hear that they're still going to be involved in some capacity. And I think what you just said, Dr. Aramaki, is really landing on me. And that's that idea that we have to do things differently to get different results. And so that idea of separating not the typical kind of cognitive head-based Gantt chart project management strategic plan that oftentimes is, dusted off 3 times a year because we have to, but one that really speaks to the heart as well is powerful. I think that's where the energy and the shift is going to happen. So I'm thrilled, and no tears this time.
No additional comments this time. Thank you.
I wrote down a phrase when my first child was born, and then my second, and my husband and I sat down and talked about what is education? What do we want in education for our kids? And they were still toddlers, yes, because we think far in advance. But there was one very specific thing, which was to finish their K-12 experience with still holding on to love of learning. Because if you love learning, then you become lifelong learners. And in order to get to that is that we have to embrace the humanity. And I feel like this is working towards that. I appreciate that, as well as joy and sense of belonging, which I think we've been trying to chip away at. I am super excited. I'm going to be honest, also nervous, because we're trying something new. And education system, we try a lot of things, and but we have to, because we have to keep on trying until we succeed. And so I'm excited that we're trying. I'm excited the effort that we put in so far. But I can't help but to say I'm still a little bit nervous. But what I am, I'll say it again, I'm very excited is how we have embraced our larger community, and that And I believe that we will make a difference and help close that gap with this process. So waiting for the next portion of this. Thank you.
And I'll add one more thing, which is the empathy interview technique. It's interesting because I did stay on the phone longer with people than I thought I would, by quite a bit. But also, you kind of have some notion of what that person might say, and you will find out that you are completely wrong. So it's really good technique, and I think we should. I think the district has. There was some professional development on that, and we should consider using it more. All right. So that's all we have. Does anybody? Okay, we're good. All right. So now we need a motion. A motion to approve the plan.
I'm okay. Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll say I'm motion to approve the strategic plan as is.
Thank you. Second?
I second.
Okay, you got us. I was asking second question mark, not, yeah, so Cindy gets a second. Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Assuming Jane said aye? Yeah, okay. All right, so there we have it. We have the strategic plan. Yeah. All right, the next thing on our agenda is we're not having item number 8, so we are going to director discussion. And okay, we're okay. And so since I went first and then Cindy went, so it's going to be director number 4, Director Webster.
Thank you, President Watson. So just wanted to echo Dr. Armaki's sentiment about our visit at Sherwood Forest. It was really, really great hearing from the students. It was very heartwarming. You know, we had some students said that, you know, when we were asking about things that we could do differently or things that they wish could change, they said, we want more time at school, you know, and so that was great. And then another student, I think, said they wanted more time in their computer science class. Like, you know, I mean, what a great problem to have. And so I just really appreciated hearing the feedback from those students. And then I think there was also another student that said that she really benefited from the high dose tutoring and how it helped her. And she even called it like it's math club, you know? So it was just really great to hear the wonderful things that are happening there directly from the students. So just wanted to thank that community for having us. Tomorrow, Dr. Armaki and I think are going to be attending a ceremony of recognition for Rainier athletes. They were selected to receive the WASA Community Leadership Award. And yeah, I think we also have a couple of staff members who are going to be celebrated there as well. So congratulations to them. And then we also have a Bellevue School District student who's going to be celebrated and going to be receiving the Student Leadership Award. I don't know if I'm supposed to say their name up here, but we're very proud of them for their achievement. It's Tendo, and I think we all know Tendo. So very, very happy to see that he's going to be recognized. Last week, I attended the threat management session that was put on by the city of Bellevue, and I thought it was really interesting. A lot of different folks in the room. I was the only one that was represented from a school district. And it was just really enlightening. They talked a lot about preparation for potentially challenging interactions through recognizing behavioral shifts and patterns. They talked about de-escalation techniques that can be used to prevent a situation from escalating. It was really good information. And then as a side note, there's also a really beautiful exhibit that's there right now. It's of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander artwork that's on display. And I just really, really enjoyed reading the narratives that were underneath each one of the the artist pictures, and I just thought it was beautiful. So if you all have a chance to go check it out, I'd encourage you to go and take a look. I think they're there till the 31st. And then the last thing that I wanted to share was I saw a poster on the wall today when I was at a meeting in the district office, and I didn't know this was happening, but it was the 2024 art show at Crossroads, where a lot of our students are going to be highlighted our art. Oh, it's right there on the wall. See, I didn't know. I didn't even see it. And so I took a picture of it because it looks like we have some wonderful artists from our schools who are going to have artwork displayed there May 2nd through 14th, and then May 19th through 29th. So I'm going to go and check that out and just encourage you all to go as well. If you have time. Thank you.
All right, I think it's my turn, so I'll go ahead and start. First of all, I want to say thank you to Sherwood Forest staff and PTSA for our lovely, very nice t-shirts that we're wearing today. It is very well designed. And thanks, I want to say thank you to just the warm reception from everyone there, including our lovely students. I won't repeat all the great things that Director, I want to say Monica, but sorry, had mentioned. I do think it was quite wonderful to hear them that they want to stay at school for longer. That just says so much about the community there. I was one of those kids who liked going to school, so I understand. That said, I also want to talk about the YES, the fundraiser. I did attend that, and I appreciated David Lockett. Is it Lockett? Okay, I knew I was going to not say his name quite well, but anyway, I appreciate him sharing about his struggles as a player and being a professional player. It just shows how all of us, and I think there was at one point, you know, how many of us have either personally experienced or know someone who has struggles with mental health. And I think, you know, I kind of glanced around the room, and it was pretty much majority of the people, which says a lot that how much, you know, as a community, we suffer, and how important it is for us to normalize that and be able to talk about it. And so, and I appreciate YES partnering with our district and providing that additional support and services for our students. I also attended a Youth Link meeting the other day. It was, I'm so always amazed by our students and their drive, their hard work, their smarts, and their heart. I had a few students who just kept on asking me questions after questions, and they told me 5 minutes. My attendance, it's never been 5 minutes. They just have so much to ask and want to do. They are having an award ceremony on it's called the 34th Annual Community Leadership Award on May 22nd. It's from 6 to 7:30 at the City Hall. So if anyone wants to attend, they got a full list of awards around advocacy and community, which I think is going to be phenomenal. So come and join and see what our students have to say about leadership and advocacy. And I think that's it for me for now. Thanks.
Okay, so it passes back over to me. And let's see, I did enjoy our visit to Sherwood Forest, and the warmth was really shined through. And I am aware that sometimes going on a school board visit to a school can be a little bit like visiting a Potemkin village, where they kind of make everything look as good as it can possibly, but you read between the lines. And I really, you know, compare and contrast. I really think there's something special going on at Sherwood Forest. So that was my takeaway there. I would also like to talk to everybody about the audit. So I participated in the initial talk. They usually like to talk to one board member. from the state auditors. And so I had that meeting, and they just only wanted the one of us. And I've done it multiple years, so I sort of know the drill now. But I was a little surprised because they normally do it in February. So we're a little later. But then it's going to be an entrance conference where they get 2 of us because of OPMA, and then some district leadership. And the auditors will go over like what the plan for the audit is, and then they'll do the audit, and then they'll have an exit conference, and where they'll give us like findings. And there's a lot of vocabulary for us to learn, like the difference between an actual finding or maybe just a management memo or something like that. So they will give us big overviews of that. So what I'm thinking is, I've been opportunity hoarding, not really, but because I love going and getting to know the auditors, and I do it every year. I've done it every year for years, but we need to spread the joy because, oh yeah, there was that one time when the auditor was a mom at, I think, Sammamish, and she was thinking about AP chemistry. So she and I went off on a riff about AP chemistry, and one of the staff came by like, what's going on in there? What is she telling them? What kind of, because they're trying to find out if the school board has seen anything abnormal in the finances. I don't know, I was just talking about AP chemistry. But anyway, so what I'm going to propose is that as much as, and I will do it. If you want me to, I'll definitely do those conferences, but I want to give you guys the opportunity of, learning and doing those. So we'll do a sign up or something for that. And then I also went on the affordable housing bus tour with the city of Bellevue. And it was fun because I ran into Janice Zahn, and so I got to ride with her, but we realized that we had kind of gotten, unfortunately, on the wrong bus. They didn't say that the 2 buses were different. No, they're the same. There's plenty of room on this bus. So we went to supportive housing for people who may have like coming out of homeless, drug, but it's, and they have mental health supports, but it is not the same as the family housing. It's the building next door. So I really wanted to see the family housing. So I didn't get to see the family housing, but I still learned some things. We also went to a thing called the Together Center in Redmond, where a lot of agencies are all housed in one building, and they talked about the resources available there. But I also learned that there's a thing called naturally occurring affordable housing, or NOAA or something, and those are things that are affordable mainly because they're older and maybe haven't been as renovated, and they were pointing them out as we were going in the bus. There's one. They call them woody walk-ups, just so you know, because there's no elevator and they're made out of wood. And they tend to be slightly below what the rest of the market is in Bellevue. And then, okay, so workforce housing versus supportive housing. No one uses the word low-income housing. It's affordable housing. I kept using the wrong word. But the one thing that struck me visiting this supportive housing that I was visiting is that the housing, doesn't include food, which why would that surprise you? But because of like the old folks, I mean, you don't call them that, but the senior citizen housing I've seen does usually have a meal plan, but there's no meal plan in supportive or affordable housing. So they talked about, well, we do run a bus over to the food bank like once a week, and we will help them people qualify for food stamps. And there's nonprofits that come in and provide like maybe 30% of the meals or something. And I'm thinking, what a lot of mind share to put on people to try to figure out where your next meal is coming from a combination of food bank, food stamp, so your own earnings. Somebody might bring you a lunch. There's not a lot of mind share left, and I don't know how exactly that plays out in the family housing, but I assume, okay, similar. Anyway, I'll stop there and pass the baton. Yeah.
Thank you. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Let's see. I wanted to first, in the spirit of Mental Health Awareness Month, share a little something I learned at the Bellevue PTSA Council meeting. Was it just last week? Gosh, yeah. It was, wasn't it? Time flies. And I don't know if this is going to work, Jess, but I'm going to attempt to hold that up like so. The first high school level meeting for this was Balancing Act Against Supporting Student Stress and Anxiety, sponsored by the PTSA Council and the MHAT, the BSD Mental Health Assistance Team. But there is one coming up Wednesday, May 22nd, Odell Middle School for elementary, 7 to 8 p.m. I don't know if folks can see that, but there's a little QR code there. Really wanted to encourage people to check this out, especially given the Mental Health Awareness Month. It just really felt appropriate to bring this up, knowing that so many of our kids right now are experiencing so much stress and anxiety with the whole post-pandemic kind of issue that's going on everywhere right now. The PTSA Council meeting was great. Melissa DeVita presented this amazing funding presentation, which was a double whammy because that was going to be my liaison report, and it was like scored. Melissa just took care of it, of course, 100 times better than what I could have done. The only bummer was we didn't have any audio visual assistance that night, and she was not able to show her whammy jammy slide deck, which was so informative. But our vice president was able to share just, via an email link, so people were able to get the content. But anyway, it was a great meeting, super informative, and just wanted to share how successful that group is. It's a powerhouse of people who do so much for our schools and for our district. And I know they're struggling with trying to find everything from the slate of directors, officers for the council, but also even at the school level. It's just tough to get volunteers to stick and hold right now. And that was a topic of conversation that was just reinforced. Sherwood Forest, go Pumas. Yes, go Pumas. I wanted to also just give a shout out to such a dedicated group of professionals there. My gosh, the administrative team, the teachers, the paraprofessionals that turned out. It was a real authentic love fest. And so many people have been there for so long, and there's a reason for that. There's this energy and commitment that was palpable. And one thing that was such a head scratcher, I think, for all of us, was to hear that the struggle that they're having with enrollment and the number of people in their community that are choosing to attend private schools or homeschool, when they have this amazing beacon of light of a public school right there, and they're grappling with, what can we do to market? What can we do to get the word out? And I don't know if there's anything. I think the power of parent to parent conversation is probably the most powerful. But for anybody who's out there, who's listening, who's on the fence, go take a tour. Really, talk to your neighbors who are attending that school. It is amazing. Between dual language, Spanish, computer, they have a computer science full-time teacher there. They have a family advocate specialist there full-time who's been there for 15 years. She knows this community and she knows the community agencies. So anyway, just a huge shout out to an amazing school that's doing great things for kids. I was impressed. And then lastly, I'm seeing the Jubilee site coaches next week. I'm going to their, they have a meeting, I think twice a month, 3 times a month. So I'll be going to learn a little bit more and say hi and get to know them. So looking forward to that.
Okay. And with that, I think we covered everybody and pretty much everything. So I'm going to
just want to give I forgot to mention, I don't know if you guys are getting the emails from WASDA regarding the Region 2 meeting, the second one, which is on May 30th. So if you're interested in, it's down in Kent. And so they'll have the same training that they had at Issaquah down in Kent. So that may be something, if you have time, register for.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to say that this meeting of the Bellevue School Board of Directors is now adjourned. Wow. I'll be right back.